Hi, I'm Jason Gorber from thatshelf.com, and I saw a film at Fantasia that I love that involves beavers.
Big shelf.
So I really wanted to spend some time talking to you guys about bringing this project together, the road that you've had on the festival circuit, and what people can do to sort of support independent filmmaking like yourself. So if you could introduce yourself to the audience, and then we'll sort of run from there.
Thanks for having us, Jason. I'm Mike Cheslik. I directed the movie and I did the editing and effects. Who are you, Ryland?
I'm Ryland Brickson Tews. And I was a producer, co-writer, and the fallen star of Hundreds of Beavers.
the guy that we see being mutilated on and oftentimes.
That's right.
He's also in the beaver costume when the beaver's getting mutilated. Just whoever's getting mutilated is played by Ryland.
Yeah, I'm a real masochist, yeah.
So let's start at the very beginning. I know you guys shot the sort of northern part of the United States. We have this weird place called Winnipeg, which seems to sort of have the Guy Maddens of this world sort of birthed in it. I don't know what the hell it is about these snow plains and misery of that part of the world, but there's something about colliding sort of proto-cinema, ancient cinema, silent stuff with more contemporary, let's say, postmodern elements. I know it's a deep question to deal with a film about a bunch of beavers being massacred, but if you could just talk about, both of you, where your perspectives come from, where your influences are, everything from Chuck Jones to somebody like Guy Madden, perhaps, and how you got from there to your own vision for this film.
Yeah, well, first of all, with the Canada thing, there is like the three teams now, because Guy Madden's other, let's say, imitator. Let's say we're Guy Madden imitators, and that, what's that other guy's name that did a Guy Madden style movie about a Canadian politician?
Well, yeah, that's the whole thing. Also, ironically played Midnight Madness, but we will get into that in a bit.
Because like some reviewer was like, "What is it about this part of the continent that breeds all these silent throwback movies?" And I think it's just Guy Madden and his two imitators. I think that's what it.
Yeah, that's it.
I don't know if it's regionally specific. It's just all downstream of Guy Madden in Winnipeg doing that style. We copied him because it's cheap. It's cheap to throw a bunch of black and white grain onto an image to separate it from all the video content you watch on your phone. So we just and I just like silent movies.
Yeah, I mean, well, and Guy Madden too. I mean, we like all his work. I mean, it really stands out by itself. And like Mike said too, it's a good way for, especially for our first feature, Lake Michigan Monster, where we literally had no money at all. It was like, how are we going to separate ourselves from everyone else who are doing these amazing 4K color images? Well, let's do the exact opposite and do a movie that looks like it was dug up out of the earth. You know, so that's kind of what separated Lake Michigan Monsters. Look at this grainy, black and white, scratchy, 16 millimeter looking movie. And when you also work in that style, it allows you to do all these crazy effect shots that you wouldn't otherwise be able to do. And so we kind of just took that mentality and brought it to Hundreds of Beavers, which again allowed Mike to do like over 1,500 effect shots. In a movie that, if it wasn't like a 4K color image, we otherwise wouldn't have been able to do. So if you can, make people buy into this world right away, this black and white, movie world, then you can basically do whatever you want. And again, it sort of separates us from the rest of what other people are doing.
Let's talk about the specifics of it. Like, what are you shooting on? What are you cutting with? What are you doing for effects?
Just a simple DSLR camera. The first one was on a really like a consumer Nikon DSLR. The first movie,
3100.
That movie's a little. It's more Guy Madden. There's more quick cutting and camera movement. It's a little more brand upon the brain. Cowards bend the knee. Whereas the new one, we made a big step up to a nicer DSLR, the GH5. And it's all me in After Effects and Premiere. And then, the idea is just pick a style where you can do an effect shot in 2 hours instead of 2 days. And if your effect shots are only taking you 2 hours, you can have a lot of them and then be unlimited in your imagination in writing. But yeah, it's a DSLR and then Adobe.
Is there something that you did that still doesn't look hard, if that makes any sense? Is there something that is simple that was incredibly difficult to do, and something that we would think is incredibly difficult to do that ended up being really simple in post?
everything's harder than it looks because it's you're just lugging equipment into the snow in the woods. So things that are very simple still require the labor of any work of moving equipment in a truck into the woods.
The hardest part about the entire shoot was lugging shit through the snow. It took a lot of the back-breaking manual labor just to get things in the truck, in and out of the truck, with about 4 or 5 guys for every day of shooting, and lugging it through 2 feet of snow into the woods. That was the hardest part. Everything else was actually fairly simple.
Why didn't you guys just shoot on green screen then? What's the difference?
That's a great question. With no answer. Ryland?
We did. I would say about 80% of the movie was shot in the woods, but the rest of it was green screen. But a lot of it too, like even a lot of the green screen stuff was shot outside, just on a green tarp, just because it's cheaper, and we're cheap. But
you're frugal, please.
No, we're cheap.
I'm frugal. He's cheap.
But people can see through it if you're just like shooting on a green screen, opposed to if you're really in the world. It also allows for all different types of dynamic framing too. Mm-hmm. And you can run from the back of the frame all the way up to the front of the frame to like the camera and past it. You can do a whole, we're not just like locked off to studio, like an 8x10 foot space. So
this is a movie where Ryland uses his full body.
Yeah, it allows you to do all this sort of physical stuff that you otherwise wouldn't be able to do just in a stupid green screen space.
But here's where
the breath of snow.
Yeah, here's where the nerdy film critic thing comes through. I mean, again, I saw your film of Fantasia. I love Fantasia. Fantasia shows a lot of stuff that is people love because it's shit. Like there's a certain charm for watching something because it's terrible. But I genuinely love your movie. And I think that anybody who likes your movie because it's quote unquote cheap, they love it superficially, is missing that this is a film with heart, with passion, that's done by people that clearly know, you talk about framing, that clearly know performance, that know all of these elements. And in a funny way, it's punk rock in the best way that I can ever articulate punk rock. There are people that did punk rock and still made music, and there are people who did punk rock and wanted to make noise. So I want to talk to you guys about taking seriously something that is so superficially stupid and silly, but doing so in a way that's still going to speak to audiences on levels other than, hey, cool, look what these guys did with no money.
Yeah, no, we just did our best. I don't know how else to explain it, but we tried it absolutely as hard as we could over 4 years. And maybe it's inherently rebellious because it's 4 people in the woods in Wisconsin instead of in the studio system or even an independent system or even with film professionals. So it's rebellious just in that there was not a ton of film professionals on set usually. Really just the DP and the sound mixer for the most part. So in that way, yes, it's rebellious, but we're doing our best to make a movie that works with audiences and has a high laugh count and has narrative tension, and doing everything we learned from film school and over 20 years of watching movies to try and, I don't know. I mean, the answer is you just try and make it good. Ryland, say something interesting.
You say that, and I'm going to interrupt. Sorry, you said you just make it good, but so many people would have taken this concept and just said, "Fuck it, it doesn't really matter. We're just going to be goofy. We're make a stoner, whatever the fuck it is, and then just have people run with it." But it is clear, and I'm telling you this comes across, and maybe you tell me if I'm reading it wrong, but this genuinely feels. Not only did you guys obviously spend the 4 years and do all that stuff, that's a nice narrative thing. That's something to talk about it. The effort doesn't come across on screen, the craft comes across on screen. So you have something that, again, looks janky, but is clearly made with a precision which so many films within this budget lack.
Yeah, I mean, Mike's, he's underplaying too just how much, how Mike knows a lot about film.
Right.
Mike knows a lot, not only about the creation of a film, but also just film language and the history of film. I mean, Mike has seen 10,000 movies. so he had all these inspirations going into Beavers, and so he has a very, just a very wealthy knowledge of everything film, and so that's something that I guess we don't, doesn't come across a lot when we talk about making Beavers. Is there's all these ideas and stuff that Mike has had for years and years and years, and then we took a long time writing Beavers too. And so that all just kind of poured out when we made Beavers. It took a long time to write it too, but again, to separate ourselves from what other people were doing is like, well, certainly no one is going to try to go out in the middle of the wilderness in, northern Wisconsin in the winter and make a no dialogue slapstick comedy. No one's going to do that except us. So again, we also thought that was going to be a way that we could separate ourselves. So you got to try to separate yourself, and then you have to put in all of this wealth of knowledge you have from years and years of watching movies and learning the techniques of film language, and you have to put it into this very silly thing. But we don't want to try to make like serious movies. We just want to make movies that are here to entertain folks. We're just trying to give people a good time. We just want them to go to the theater and have a great time. And we thought the best way of doing that is, and again, the best way of separating ourselves at the same time from what other people are doing, is to make this silent slapstick winter comedy epic. And so that's kind of how it all culminated. And we just so happened to be at the right place in our lives, where we could still call on a bunch of buddies to come into the middle of the woods and, dress up like beaver mascots and fall down in the snow and do this. So it was a combination of all these different elements that told us, this is the project we have to do next, so again, there's a lot, again, it's a lot of wealth of knowledge of film language and stuff, but again, like Mike said too, it also takes 4 years to do it, because there's other features out there where people say, hey, we shot our feature in 13 days. All right, well, we shot ours in 13 weeks, and it's like, I don't know if you need to be bragging about how short it took to make your movie. I think if it took you longer, your movie might be a little better.
Can I say that in a nice way? Can I just say that in a nice way that's not dunking on our other film colleagues in the indie film world?
Fuck them. Fuck them. No, I say this because there's nothing that grieves me more than people who love stuff because it's shit. Like, I hate The Fascination with The Room, which is just a terrible film. But people like, oh my God, I love watching The Room because I love watching The Room because I watch The Room and The Room is shit, right? This is and again, I'm not taking, I'm the critic. I can shit on whatever I want and I can praise whatever I want. I don't want to overly make your film cerebral. But the fact that your film echoes stuff like, I don't know, Fritz Lang movies at the same time it's riffing on Bugs Bunny is amazing, while making it its own thing. And I kind of went in expecting this was another lo-fi silly thing that was frankly going to be masturbatory, because I see a lot of that stuff. But instead, it is so clear on every bloody frame that you guys thought, what are we doing here? And then did that. You took that extra step as filmmakers to actually make something. So I believe that needs credit, but I'm wondering for you guys whether or not that's been sort of underappreciated for people who are fascinated by the form and not necessarily by the depth of the content.
I feel appreciated. I think the reaction's been great.
Right.
Yeah, I would just say we're not trying to be ironic.
Right.
We're trying to be earnest. So I think I don't know. Comedies these days too. They don't like buy into the world enough, Whereas
Exactly.
like we're just trying to make our own earnest world and have it all, have the audience and the characters buy into this world, and not what am I trying to say? We're not trying to. It's not like a hollow. Like, we're just trying to make like an actual earnest movie and not like undercut it in any way, I guess.
Like, I guess the fact that the mascots are played by people like stopped being funny to us on day 2. So then we were just trying our best instead of like thinking that was inherently funny. You know what I mean?
Let's talk about, I mean, I don't want to go too far down the road. I mean, it's been amazing watching Greta Gerwig talk about Barbie, which I think is a great film, but I mean, she's referencing like Bella Tarr and stuff like that. Let's talk about some of the references. Let's talk about the overt things that you actually drew upon, not only in terms of the style, but also just in terms of your taste as a filmmaker.
Well, it's a lot of the things you've named, you know, silent films and cartoons, but also video games, and a video game having a structure that's Campbellian, but also RPG structure.
Hmm.
So in this film, people have said, "Why is the middle act so long?" And a lot of people have said that, and I guess you know, the idea was that instead of watching an abbreviated montage of him getting better at fur trapping in the second act, which is how this structure would usually go, you like watch Ryland play the whole video game, and it keeps track of his items and what he's learned and the parts of the map he's been to very rigorously, and we don't abbreviate that. So that's been a little controversial, but basically that's because of the influence is video games on top of silent film. I don't know. Is that interesting? Should we just name a bunch of references?
No, no. Why I find that interesting? Because it's amazing. You say like the middle part's less interesting. I mean, like that's life, dude. Like we have birth, we have death, and in the middle is just all shit, right?
Well, and it's just like, you know, this is a fur trapping movie, so we wanted to show like what
Trapping of fur.
trap, like what a yeah, like what a trap line is.
Mhm.
And that's just like what fur trappers would do. They'd have their trap line and they'd like go back and check it every day, and they'd make adjustments, and they'd check it the next day and make adjustments. So, you know,
Here's the thing, Jason. With Wile E. Coyote, he sets up a trap and you see how it fails right away, and then that same gag heightens and he tries the next step of that trap for that animal. And that's just like it's like sketch structure. It's just heightening one trap idea logically. But with fur trapping, you don't get to find out if your trap worked until like a day later when you went around the whole trap line loop again. So you have to do all the setups for the first time with the trap, then you go around a second time and do all of the second beats of all of those jokes and all those traps, and then you go all the way around with the third beat, because like you have to leave a trap for a few days and then come back, and that's the nature of the trade. So our structure hopefully combines silent films, that and am I over explaining the movie, Ryland?
You're not. And here's what it said. I think that you feel danger of over intellectualizing this, and I'm not sitting here saying that there's anything pedantic about this film. This film is a blast. It's a riot. It's a hell of a lot of fun. Obviously, audience respond to it, but this is exactly my point. Is that if what you guys were doing was going for you say you're cheap, but the cheap version of this film is to say, fuck it. Yeah, he's a fur trapper, but he's not really a fur trapper. He's Wile E. Coyote. And we're just going to do that. But this is what I say. When you guys take things seriously, you are treating this as a character, not a cartoon. You are treating this guy who is running around naked in the snow in a way that we want to invest in this character, and we know he's not disposable. And it's the difference for me between what the Coen brothers do and what stupid summer bullshit that I watched the 1980s do, which is you can do comedy and you do it smart. And that is why I wanted to actually celebrate what you guys are doing, because I genuinely think you guys are reticent to own the fact that you worked really fucking hard on this, not in the sense that you're out in the woods working hard on it, but in the sense that this is narratively much more sophisticated than I think anybody would actually think about, hey, it's a film about a bunch of beavers.
Well, thanks. No, I mean, I appreciate it. I think it's yeah, we've taken this seriously for a long time, but we're serious about. I mean, I think a lot of people that make good comedies take it really seriously, and they like aren't that funny on set, or they're like being very serious about whether the joke works. But yeah, just trying to have a rigorous attitude about does this laugh work, and whether or not a laugh works is kind of mechanical and kind of binary, so you can approach it with a little more of an engineer brain.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say, Ryland? But yeah, no, thank you for all your kind words. That's really
James, we really appreciate all of that. And it's true. I mean, we work really. I mean, like Mike was just saying. I mean, we would have a joke that we came up with in 2019, and we thought it was funny at the time. But then 3 years later, when you're actually shooting it or whatever, or finish editing, it's so like laser guided and focused to being funny that by the time that you actually get it, like you actually complete the joke, it really is more of a robotic thing where it's like, correct, joke done correctly, moving on to next joke. Like, you know, because we're trying to laser guide these jokes so good and then edit them together so good and have that great sound design. Like, it's all so meticulously crafted to make like the perfect joke.
Like you look at the Buster Keaton
and do it hundreds of times. So it's like Buster Keaton, like they did back in the day, where they or Jackie Chan even in the 80s, where you take like 75 takes to just get like the perfect, you know, little nuanced thing that lasts like 2 seconds, but you got to get it just right because people always remember that. So but yeah, it's true. It's just like Mike said, it just took a lot of hard work.
What was it? At what point in time did you basically have the arc of the entire film? And was it 4 years of reshoots, or was it just a matter of getting all the pieces over 4 years?
It was spring. I think we started right after Lake Michigan Monster premiered. So we were like doing distro on Lake Michigan Monster and then started writing Beavers like February 2019.
Mm-hmm.
And then by the end of that spring, we had the script, but not all the boards. So then once the script existed, it was begin to fundraise in the Milwaukee area with our producers at SRH, a marketing company in Milwaukee. So we started raising money and boarding and pre-producing all at once. And then so there was 2 winters of shooting that, you know, 2019 December and then 2020 December into 2021.
Was everything going? I mean, it's one way of doing COVID is to wear a beaver mask, I guess.
Yeah, that's right. Yep. Totally protects you.
Yeah, that was a great thing about shooting in winter 2020 up north. You're the only ones up there. So like all the other productions are shut down and we're just shooting our silly beaver movie up in the North Woods. You know.
And it was basically fundraising and post were happening for like all 4 years. So the movie was done with an animatic and Storyboard Pro, and that's just like sitting on the Premiere timeline. And then as we're shooting each night, we're just dropping the new footage just right on the inserts. Yeah, so there's no coverage. We're just collecting inserts collecting parts of effects shots that just replace a part of the animatic. So it wasn't about coverage or scenes. It was just this long scavenger hunt list for over, 2 winters and 4 years. And then the money comes in kind of slowly too. So, we're just like selling units in the Milwaukee area basically. And I mean, so it was post and pre-pro and fundraising and shooting kind of all at once for 4 years.
I mean, it's so surreal for me. I literally just this week interviewed the guys that are doing Wish, the new Disney animated film, right? And Peter Dovacco is the producer of Frozen and Frozen 2. And the way he's describing their process of making Frozen is identical to what you got. It's 4 years. It's 4 or 5 years. They're doing these lines. They're getting these shots together. They're trying to find some way of making sure it's fresh over the process. They're doing it for a few $100 million more than you guys are doing, but nonetheless, that there's that sense of having to get it right over a long period of time. What prepared you at the beginning of this to know that it was going to be the marathon, or is it experience or is it idiocy?
Lake Michigan Monster was a little bit of a trial run because the end of Lake Michigan Monster is very effect driven. And then we said, this is going to be obviously a bigger movie, but it will have it'll have a lot more of those kind of effects driven sequences, but it'll also be out in the woods. So we knew it was a big task, but, silently and slowly adding more to the third act climax helped us get away with it because people didn't realize the scope as they were working on it. And then it would just be like, good news, there's actually another chase scene we didn't tell you about.
Yeah, but I think that's the way to go about making a feature, or I mean a short too, I guess. But you just have to start making the thing. You just got to start doing it. Without, if you're really serious about making a film, just start making it any way possible. It doesn't really matter how much money you have. You can always be doing something. So like the first winter we were shooting, we didn't have that much money, but we knew we could shoot some stuff. We didn't even have a cinematographer on board for the first winter. It was Mike shooting me. I mean, literally the the first like 10 minutes of the movie, it's like just me in the wilderness. That's just Mike shooting me. There's no one else there, you know? So like you can always be doing something to, you know, propel the movie forward. And then, you know, again, by the second winter, we had more money. But by that time we'd already shot some stuff. So, you know, you can't just be sitting around saying like, oh, if only I had, you know, $500,000, then I could shoot my opus. It's like, no, you gotta be doing it at all times, you know?
How did you guys avoid killing each other?
No, we've been friends for a while. Ryland and I have
That
worked
is
together.
not an answer.
Well, we just, you know, Ryland and I have it's been a great partnership. We've, I don't know, 2 features now and then a short called Lips. And then, but we made movies together in high school. So if you're just working with people you've known a long time, you know, all those personality issues are much easier. And we've worked with a lot of people we've known for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, everyone who is a mascot, or even fight choreographer or second unit DP or whatever, or sound mixer or music, like these people we've known since grade school, high school, college. So we all have known each other for a long time, which obviously helps. So of course, you know, there's probably times, you know, on set where Mike wanted to kill me and vice versa, but you got your other buddies there too to look. We could only shoot till about 4 p.m. every night before the sun went down. So whatever anger we were feeling towards each other, you know, you'd get back to the cabin and you'd drink 100 beers and, you know, everyone would be fine. So
I don't know what you're talking about. I wasn't angry at all ever. I thought it was great. I thought it went great until right now.
No. I will say that though. There was never, that's the thing though, again, because it was just like our buddies, you know, helping us too. Like it was like it was very hard work, but it was a good time. Like there was never anyone who like, you know, stormed off set, or there was never any big like interpersonal like, you know, battles going. None of that. It was just like we're out there, we're having fun. You know, we got some money to make this big silly comedy with our buddies in the woods, and we get to drink beer together at night. So it's like, you know, we're living the life. So, you know, it was a great time.
Let's talk about finding the audience. If I recall correctly, it premiered as a low-budget feature at Fantastic. If you talk about the journey from there, getting to there, some other missteps that might have happened. Again, we're not shitting on anybody here, but I just want to talk about the reality of getting this to audiences in this day and age.
Yeah, the market's weird right now, but we've had a slow festival build. Well, now it's great, but now there's, you know, 40 some fests we're in, and it probably will cross 50 or 60, Ryland.
We'll cross, yeah, by the time, yeah, it'll cross 60.
But like Jason, like we play better with an audience, this movie. And so sometimes if you watch it on a screener, maybe you don't realize that it could be a sold out show. And so it was just slowly the word of mouth has crescendoed over about a year, almost a year of festivals now.
But let's talk about the beginning. Again, I don't want to be, I'm not sitting here trying to dig into negativity. This is a comedy. But this is, again, we're taking silly seriously here. Let's talk about where it started and how it started and what the response was there and whether or not that set your expectations. You've been grinding this film. And I think that for young filmmakers, for any filmmakers, they can respect that. This is a challenging time for films in general. So if you could talk about just those moments about getting in and how you've built upon it and the tenacity to make sure that you knew that the thing that you were doing was worth hucking in order to get to bigger and bigger audiences.
Yeah, thanks. Basically we premiered at Fantastic Fest as a virtual only screening in their program called the Burnt End screening.
I didn't actually even realize it was virtual only. Oh dear.
Selections. Yeah, so we were kind of like one of the like, oh well, you know, we're out of screening space, but we want to highlight some of these smaller budget movies. You know, obviously you picture it as an in-person premiere, but you have a nice offer to help you get an audience for you know, from a respected festival like Fantastic. So it was our pleasure to go to Fantastic and have a great time. But you want to, you know, early in the fests, you know, you don't know, there's no guarantee you're going to get into other genre fests. So, you know, we had a great time, and some people saw it on the virtual selection. on Fantastic Fest, but then after that, we started to build into more and more in-person screenings and gain word of mouth as like an audience movie. And
Yeah,
that
sorry to interrupt again. I want because I actually didn't realize I mean, this is so demanding of being seen with an audience, and it's great. I'm taking nothing away from Fantastic selecting you, but that is not ideal. I think we can agree that it was a virtual screening. What started the road for this to be seen with audiences, and who took a chance on programming it? I want to talk about those programmers, those festivals that saw what I see in this film.
Well, there's a great hero of North America named Peter Kaplowski he programmed us at Fantastic, and so he flagged it late, but loved the film and just has been a soldier of cinema and a promoter of our film for the whole last year. And he's told other programmers in that community about what a film it is, and so what a good film he thinks it is. He's wrong, but I got to see it with Peter in Montreal last week, and so it was really a pleasure to finally see it with an audience with him. But yeah, that just these programmers all know each other. And then as we went to Morbido and won a prize, and then we went to I don't know, Ryland. There was like a number of genre fests, Fantaspoa in Brazil.
Yeah, well, there was again the understanding was, so we made Lake Michigan Monster, and I wore the sea captain hat when I went to all these festivals. So we thought, well, that's great because people like the hat. So for the next movie, we'll make the hat really, really big. It'll be funny. So when you go to festivals, it's just like a magnet, and everyone starts asking, "What's with the hat?" And you say, "Oh, it's for our film, Hundreds of Beavers." So it's like a great marketing ploy. So when we also then go to these festivals, we would start to do like antics and stuff at the screenings. Like we not only wear the hat, but you'd have beavers at the screening. So like, for instance, we'd go to like Midwest Weird Fest in Eau Claire, and we had like, 6 or 7 beaver boys show up, and like Mike has the big hat on, and there's a beaver there. And then like after the screening, a beaver shows up in the audience, and Mike runs up and starts beating up the beaver. Meanwhile, I'm in, Brazil or something, and I'm doing the same thing with a beaver there, and I have a hat. And then the beaver shows up at our screening or someone else's screening, and then I'm breaking a chair over the beaver or body slamming it to the ground. So we try to make that like we try to like take the film fest thing and make it an even more special screening, like give it sort of that Rocky Horror Picture Show thing, because I think that adds to the whole like theatrical experience. But it all started with this idea of like, we need a big hat. If there's any aspiring young filmmakers, if you're going to make a feature film, make sure your main character is wearing a giant hat, because it does wonders for you in the marketing of your movie when you're on the film fest circuit.
You mentioned Peter Pear's a friend. I'm denigrating nothing here, but obviously, since he was so evangelical about the film, and yet the film didn't find a place at Midnight Madness, was there even talk potentially of it premiering in Toronto?
I think we just finished it when we finished it, and the fest strategy was a little loose, but Ryland did a good job. But we didn't have this real vision of how the fest would unroll, because there's no guarantee you're going to get into anything, and we're a little newer to the scene. But yeah, I don't know. What's the question? Was there?
Well, it was like, Peter had
Toronto?
said that Peter would have. He said if we had submitted to TIFF, he would have put it in the midnight screening thing, whatever, at TIFF. But like literally, the movie wasn't done yet. So
there we go. That's the answer. Because I'm watching this film, I'm like, why? Peter's the one who told me about it.
I know. Well, that's the thing.
And I'm like, why the fuck didn't you program this? This film is amazing and would have slayed here. I'm telling you, that film would have just murdered as part of this film festival. And so for me to hear, I understand we're putting the film's doing what the film's doing, and the film will find the audience if the film has an audience. But I would have loved 950 people to have the sense of discovery that I had when I saw it at Fantasia. I would have loved you guys to have that for you. I would have loved for you to have had that at Fantastic. I love that you've had it over the months at other festivals. I want this film to be seen by thousands of people all over the world. You guys are hustling and doing this, and I think this is a film that demands to be seen by audiences. So I just wanted to see and get on record, not that this film wasn't missed, things conspired for it to not work out the way that it works out, and then that you have specific champions like Peter and like many other people who have contributed to the film's success. So I wanted to sort of set that record straight, because my assumption was that there was no room for it in Toronto, that it was done, there was no room for it, and that we've had this sort of this trickle. So that was I'm glad that we settled that. But let's talk about the successes. Let's talk about those runs in Brazil. Let's talk about showing it to, because it's silent, that it can speak to any audiences all over the planet.
Yeah, I mean, we've been we've been a ton of different countries. Like you said, it's just, there's no language barrier, so it's been playing great everywhere. I mean, we were just well, we weren't able to go, unfortunately, but we just played in Japan at the Yubari International Fantastic Film Fest, and we were the only film there that wasn't Japanese, and we won the special jury prize. So just stuff like that has been really nice, because we always thought like, oh, it could play anywhere in the world, and now it really is. And now we're going to be in Europe in the fall, so it's been fantastic, and people everywhere have been really responding into it and loving it, because it's really a universal language, Jason. I mean, people falling down and getting hurt, I mean, that's, everyone can relate to that, so.
I mean, I'm in a country where, as soon as the raccoons showed up, that's when I had my PTSD, because I live in a city where raccoons completely terrorize everybody.
Our fight, what I have to say is so stupid and such a waste of time, but I'll say it. Our fight choreographer, John Trey, has a strange kinship with raccoons, and we made sure that he played all those raccoons in the tree. Ryland, is there any deep meaning to this, or it's how he is for some reason?
John Trey is just a strange cat.
I also think, Europeans are they're so interested in the beaver. It's like it's like our kangaroo, the way I feel about a kangaroo, where I'm like, what an exotic alien creature they have on that other continent. That seems to be how some Europeans view the beaver.
Oh, I mean, if you really want to get, again, film critic nerd shit, there's, especially places like Germany, there is a total fetishization of the West, like in a completely inappropriate and culturally, disadvantageous way. Their love of indigenous iconography, all of that stuff is like deep, and they see it as this. It's almost like the moon in terms of fascination. And so, yeah, I can definitely see that sense of your film, the Western vibe, completely playing for that audience. But also, I love that in Japan, it's like they're used to mascots, for God's sakes.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah, we always thought it'd be big in Japan or South Korea or something. So we're definitely trying to tap into those markets.
And again, I'm coming back to this thing, when you're freezing literally your balls off, literal testicles being frozen in the wild. Are you guys thinking, man, I think this is going to be big in Japan, or are you just trying to get through the goddamn day?
Yeah, you got to keep your head down and just work. You can't. I don't know, Ryland. Maybe I get too big picture on set, but like the ideal set day is just doing the job and keeping the scope small for that day.
Oh yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you gotta, keep your nose on the grindstone. I mean, but yeah, I mean, that's the thing too, is like, you should have seen us on set, Jason. It's like, it's so uninteresting if you were on set. It's like, there's just like four guys in the woods, and Mike, like, being very precise with telling me what to do and where to walk to, like my different,
make it look like my drawing.
Yeah. He'd point that to our cinematographer, Quinn, just like, here's the frame, make it look like my drawing, Quinn. And then, Ryland, you have to do this. Like, I'm just like an animated character basically at that point. So the behind
it's what Hitchcock did. What the fuck?
Yeah, well,
Well, when it's that cold, people appreciate that there's no coverage. They actually like that you're just shooting the boards, because there's a mission with an end, and it's not like this. There's not going to be some creative process that goes on indefinitely. It's like, we're shooting these 4 pictures today, and it'll be pretty like binary whether we got it or not.
And to be clear, I mean, you mentioned this before, that you had basically the animatic in place, or at least storyboards cut into the line. How much did that shift at all while shooting?
We really just shot the boards.
Right.
Yeah, it didn't really shift. I mean, obviously there was tons and tons of conversations about, the structure of the movie, and then
you did your homework.
Yeah. But then when it came time to actually like shoot and planning it out, it was very precise and there was no improvising. If I improvised, Mike would take me aside and
Beat the
beat me
shit out of you?
belt.
So, yeah, okay, perfect.
No time, damn it.
Yeah, you earn a lot of trust from like we were shooting with our buddies basically. I mean, there was only like 4 or 5 people on set usually, but you earn a lot of their trust when you just have a plan and you're not fooling around. And it's also was actually below zero for a whole week straight at one point. And so you're just like, you need the trust of the team, and you get the trust of the team by just saying, this is the plan, and we're doing exactly this.
If you were told you had to do this again for the next 4 years, would you guys do it?
Like 200s of Beavers, like another snow movie. I would like set it maybe. We're not doing 200s of Beavers. I would put it a little more Colorado, maybe a little like not always the North Woods. You know, a little more.
I was thinking Hawaii, but Hawaii just burned down, God forbid. So.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
yeah, where's Adam Sandler going to shoot his vacation movies?
He's on the other islands, but yeah, like this is obviously was an incredible journey. But is it a journey that you feel that the next one's going to be slightly less in scope, or you think that first of all, are you guys going to continue? Is this where are we going in the world of the films that you guys are making?
Well, we'll give you the exclusive. It's a lot more kung fu.
Perfect. That's what we need. We need punches at the balls. This is all good.
We had the most fun. There was a warm week on the shoot where we actually did shoot in Santa Paula, California for 1 week in our buddy's ranch. And that was so nice. And it was actually like a comfortable temperature. And I brought in more of my college friends, NYU people like John Trey, and then Fidel shot it, Fidel Ruiz-Healy and Tyler Walker. And that shoot was so much fun and so much more comfortable than the winter shoots that we just said, well, the next movie has to just be like 9 of these scenes.
You know, Mike, you say that, but you weren't wearing the costumes. It was 150 degrees in those costumes.
It was so comfortable for me.
But no, it's true. The actual fight scene, when you just get a bunch of your boys together, you got like 12 or 13 of your boys, and like you're making a fight scene, and then like Mike is cutting together the footage that night and you're drinking beers. I mean, it was just like bliss. It was so much fun.
So Mike, you went to Tisch?
Yes, yeah. So Wisconsin to NYU, and now I'm in LA. And basically, it's been a good 2 pools of talent. So we use our like buddies from growing up in Wisconsin, but also some NYU talent has come in.
I'm going to ask a question I'm always fascinated by. I want to know a movie that you guys saw and thought, I could do this. And is there a movie you love that you just look at with wonder and say, there's no way this is going to come out of my brain?
Oh, I don't know. The I Could Do This thing was kind of Guy Madden, like just because he shot those movies in Winnipeg and they have a full world and they're not limited by a budget. They have an unlimited imagination. And so I think the Guy Madden movies are very inspiring. That, you know, the first movie we did cost $7,000, and it's just like it really Guy Madden, you know, those movies gave us permission, I think, to make a big crazy movie. And then as far as something that's like intimidating, that it seems untouchable, I don't know, Playtime.
There you go. In a funny, yeah, I guess in a funny way, there's a lot of tattoo in this film too. Huh. Go figure.
Well, the French thing fit in.
Yeah, we'll definitely cut this.
Right.
So, anything from you?
Oh man, anything. Well, anything animated, I will never be able to do. So I'll just let them do that because that's not my wheelhouse, and I'm always blown away by like Mike, who's the guy who did the Night is Short, Walk On Girl?
Yeah, Yuasa. Yuasa.
He also did that crazy one before, right? That's like insane.
Mind Game.
Mind Game, yeah. Like these animators who do these just unbelievable. I mean, it's just there's so much going on and so much thought put into it, and that's just part of it. Like I am not. You should have seen my storyboards on Lake Michigan Monster, Jason. It was like a 4-year-old had drawn them.
He's not good.
Yeah, I'm not good. Oh, I'm not good at what I do. But then you look at Mike and his storyboards, and he's actually a very good drawer, which helps a lot when, you know, he has a big binder full of these things, because it's like, you know, looking at like a comic book or something. So it's nice.
Masaki Yuasa is like he's like one of the best working directors in the world. He's like like it's very inspiring and amazing. And then he'll have a movie with like 30 new visual ideas you've never seen before, but they're like all in one movie he makes. And I also got to say it. I mean, very inspired by like Sion Sono, just making giant crazy movies for small budgets also. And
Yeah, like one a year, two a year.
yeah, that was very, very motivating, especially while we were on Lake Michigan Monster.
What can people do to support the film?
Just get out of our way.
Just let you do your shit.
I'll do the producery thing and I'll say, follow us on Instagram and Facebook. And also, you know, everyone keeps messaging us about, you know, when is it going to be available? And we're going to be doing our theatrical run early 2024, like January, February. So definitely for no other reasons, you know, follow us on, you know, social media just so you can get updates as to like what cities we're going to be screening in next, because you know, we're hopeful, you know, we're gonna hopefully be doing a big theatrical run, and during that time we'll hopefully be doing like a 2-week road show as well. So maybe we'll be coming to your city with some beavers to create some mayhem.
I would like that a lot. And yeah, again, guys, I've taken up a bunch of your time, but I really, really loved this film. I loved it for the reasons that I've articulated, but I just think I don't want anybody to get confused about any of the droll academic nonsense. It's just a shitload of fun. And it's clearly made by people that know how to do fun in a good way. And just congratulations, huge congratulations on the film. And I can't wait to see what you guys come up with next. Final. Do you know if Guy Madden's seen the film yet?
Thank you for everything you're saying. That's really nice, and everything you've articulated about our work is like very appreciated and motivating. Guy Madden has seen it, and he actually did a quote for the marketing, so he's in the trailer.
Fantastic. I couldn't be happier about that. It's some honestly, in terms of other people, if you're going to meet your heroes, guys, like a total mensch. So I'm so pleased that that's actually coming together. That's so great.
Again, another big shout out too to Fantasia and Mitch Davis, the fest director, because he's the one who got us in contact with Guy Madden when we played there the first time with Lake Michigan Monster. So again,
awesome.
Mitch Davis and Fantasia is just, you know, one of our favorite film festivals. It's always an amazing experience there.
The Beavers wouldn't exist if it wasn't for our 2019 Fantasia selection with Lake Michigan Monster. So I think, you know, Celia Pouzet and then Mitch Davis kind of launched our, I won't say careers, but they made Beavers possible.
Good. You know, long-haired Jews from Canada we do what we can, my brother. There we go. Anyway, thank you. I know it took up a bunch of your time, but I'm so glad to do this. We'll put this on the channel, and more importantly, just do whatever we can, however we can, to spread the word about this, the wonderful beaverness. Thank you guys so much. Have a great day.